Today's episode is about two Malaysian sisters who are running a roller shutter manufacturing business that their grandfather started in 1957. Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, and I'm your host, Krista Gun. I'm also an entrepreneur, author, marketeer, storyteller, and connector. As the host of Womenpreneur Asia, I talk to Asian women entrepreneurs to uncover their personal stories of grit, hope, and transformation. These are real stories of courage and optimism from inspiring yet down-to-earth women in business across Asia. This episode is brought to you by my company, Redbox Studio. Today, I'm speaking to Michelle and Melissa Sin of SKB Shutters Corporation Berhad from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Their grandfather, Mr. Sin Kian Boon, from which SKB derives its name, started the business in a Penang shop house back in 1957. Today, 64 years later, it is based in Kuala Lumpur, and Michelle and Melissa Sin are the two sisters who comprise the third generation running the company. As you will hear from this delightful interview, it is clear that Michelle and Melissa enjoy being in the business together. This is also the first time on any of my episodes that I'm talking to siblings who love each other's company and run the business together. We had a lot of lively banter in this episode and a lot of insights into what it means to be in a family business that your parents are still actively part of. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, Michelle and Melissa Sin.
Hi, hello, Crystal.
Thank you so much for being on this episode. And both of you are sisters and both of you are in business together. So tell me, how did the both of you get started? Either one of you can start telling that story from your own perspective.
I started in the business in 2009. Prior to this, I was working as an auditor in KPMG Malaysia. After being 4.5 years in KPMG, I decided to join my parents in the business because I want to have the opportunity to learn from my parents in terms of how they conduct business. So I thought after getting married, it was a good time for me to be part of the business. That's how I got into SKB. When I first got into the business, of course, with a financial background, getting into a manufacturing, it's really, really tough because you have no relation with what you do in KPMG as opposed to where you are in manufacturing, because I was specializing in banking and finance, where everything was very structured, compliance, regulated by the central bank. But when you're manufacturing, literally every day is a changing in a very fast pace. In fact, it was very, very new, and I had to put my head down as who I was. No matter how many years of experience you have, you actually have to just learn from the ground, like getting to site, understanding what's going on in the manufacturing floor, meeting clients. And when we're in the construction business or construction-related business, you're not only dealing with professionals, you're also dealing with the installers, the site supervisors, the PM. Even in the manufacturing floor, we also have to deal with our own workers, whether they are general, skilled, unskilled, supervisors. And I'm also under pressure that everyone would expect I would know everything, but it's quite good. My parents actually groom us up. Not to say groom us, they didn't groom us, but more on bringing us to the manufacturing floor or coming to the office whenever during our holidays. So literally, we grew up with the business. So it was nothing new, but of course, in terms of how it's being operated, it's very different from where I came from at my first job.
And what about Melissa? How did you end up in the business?
I was very lucky. So, I'm always very lucky because I always have an elder sister. So my elder sister always sort of opened up the path first before I, decided to go back to our business. But there was never an expectation for me to be joining our business. In fact, my father have not expressively mentioned that eventually you will need to come back to help us or to continue the business. I was also in KPMG. I think we share a very similar career path.
Was that because you liked that line of career?
I was at consulting, so not so much on auditing. And I really like consulting because it was really very reflective of my nature of. I love to express myself. I love to meet clients. So consulting was perfect for me. But it was an opportunity at I think 5 years in KPMG. Then our Singapore subsidiary was setting up, and then there was this opportunity that maybe I should give it a try, not dive into SKB Shutters Corp, which is the entire business, but to start off from our subsidiary in Singapore. So then I sort of discussed with my dad and say, okay, go ahead, give it a try. So that's how I started with SKB. So I started with our Singapore subsidiary. 2 years down, then I've actually relocated back to KL. That's when I'm full force immersed in the business. But it's a very new experience. Because starting the subsidiary, it was literally setting up from scratch. There was only 3 of us in the office, and I had to be sales, I had to be country manager, I have to be my peers as well. There's only 2 of my other colleagues. So it was really running a very small operation, but at the same time managing expectations back from HQ, which is here in KL. Then, of course, when I came back to KL, it was everything in the largest scale. Just like Michelle said, I think at our level, we have to be working at from the bottom and also managing expectations at the top as well. So it was not an easy sort of transition, but I'm thankful that my parents are still involved in the business because their guidance are really, it comes as an insurance, but it also comes as you don't feel like you're alone. Yeah. So of course with my sister, I don't feel alone, but sometimes we can be quite like, oh, this is really challenging. What are we going to do? And then we have our parents.
But at least you have a sister to talk to.
Definitely. I think you hear a lot of that later on.
Yeah. So before we move on to more of your stories as well as your sister's stories, tell us about the business. What does it do, and what kinds of products or services that you have right now?
SKB Shutters were actually a 64 years old company. We started from grills and gates, and then of course roller shutters. So in the 1970s, when the urbanization of Kuala Lumpur is starting to sort of getting developed all over, that's when the demand for fire-rated shutters and good shutters came in. Of course, at then, it was very much influenced by the British standards. So at then, we have actually worked very closely with our overseas counterparts to produce good roller shutters here in Malaysia, especially for fire rating performance. Then, of course, fast forward, now we have actually 3 main products that we produce here in Malaysia. That is roller shutters, steel doors, also called the metal doors, and storage racking systems. So SKB, we have our sister company, SKB Storage, which manages and produce storage racking system, semi-automated and fully automated, and also the construction and building material side, which is more on performance doors.
Wow, that seems like a lot of products that has expanded since 64 years ago. So I do know a little bit about your company background since I read a little bit about it. And it was started by your grandfather.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr.
And was it in KL or was it elsewhere?
It was in Penang. Yeah.
Okay.
Penang, yeah. So my father was born in Penang, and we were born and brought up in KL.
Yeah. We moved down because it was actually a branch from our Penang setup, but eventually we became independent. So because KL was where most of the urbanization was going on, so it then made more sense to sort of shift down to Kuala Lumpur. So that's how our factory and on the KL side started.
So technically, it started in Penang.
Yeah.
So from your grandfather's time to your father's time, and now your time, right? So the both of you are really going to take over. Well, you're already in the business. You're already taking over. What changes have you seen over the years? I'm sure there are plenty of changes, but what changes have you seen that you're really proud of?
I think we've grown tremendously over the last 15 years. We both joined the business for more than a decade now, right? I think, yeah. In the last 15 years, I think it has grown a lot in terms of innovation, in terms of our team size, even our product range size has also increased in a coverage of a much wider segment. So we used to only focus on industrial. Now we are quite focused on high performance products like military based or like floodgates. And also we look into commercial and residential. So maybe some listeners out there may be thinking roller shutters at home. Yes, it's actually very common now for roller shutters to be part of the security system at home. So I think over the last 10 years specifically, we have grown a lot in size, but also in terms of achievements and product range. So that kept us really busy because my father's generation are still very much on working on innovation, working on trying to get the factory producing at a higher capacity, which is why we also moved to our new plant here in Kota Damansara. And then, there are a lot of segments or individual sectors that within the company that we can't really look into individually. So that comes into play where Michelle is able to give a really good insight and hand to my father at that point in time. And when it comes to when I joined, it was really more about sales and marketing. So I looked at sales and marketing. So back then, marketing was very, very straightforward. Whatever new product, when we meet an architect, we just tell him, oh, we have a new product. That's about it. It was never done in a large scale. We've never done seminars. We've never actually actively approach the industry professionals about the good innovation that we have. So in the last 10 years, that sort of just like exponentially like went up because there was more hands in the business now.
Probably also more brains, additional brain power. Two ex KPMG people with their audit and consulting skills.
Right. I think, I mean, the way doing business is also very different now, right? And at last time, you don't have the digitization and all this internet and everything, people sort of think like, oh, when there's roller shutters, they probably think about that few manufacturers. And if they don't share anything new, then they will assume there was no new innovation, there are no new products. But then now people are actually actively looking on the net to see if there's any solutions to a certain type of issue that they're having or concerns that they wish to address using shutters or doors. And that's really a huge advantage for us because a lot of our innovation are aimed at these concerns, but we could never really sell it at a large scale other than just to the professionals. So then when the internet came, and of course more people in the business focusing on entirely on just sales and marketing and operations, then things really move very fast and grew exponentially.
Okay. So what makes SKB stand out in the industry? Besides the fact that there's Michelle and Melissa, women, right? Running women in a, what would I call it, a male-dominated industry is still predominantly male dominated, right? Yeah. So how do two women like you make the business different or unique?
I guess being a woman in this industry has an advantage as well, because you create an impression that, you're tough. Yeah. But actually, to me, whether this is a male or female dominated industry, it's actually at the end of the day how much you want to put yourself down and go down to the floor and learn, right? I guess to us is we have this platform, we should make use of this platform that we have from our parents, from our grandparents, and maintain the legacy that they have brought down and continue to innovate in this business and bloom and flourish this business. So I would say the integrity of our business, the integrity values that we have in our business is actually a very something that I'm very, very proud of. Yeah. The values that we have grown from Penang, from my grandfather, from my parents, and then now to us. Yeah. So that's, to me, is very important. So everything that we do is all about honesty and integrity. Yeah. And likewise, we also bring this down to our employees and our peers, right? So whenever people think of SKB, they always know quality, integrity, yeah, and honesty. So I would want to bring this, continue this legacy even to our children as part of our family values. And being part of this family business, it really also shows how are you being groomed in this family, showing to the society, to the world that, how upheld you both are to the family values. So you have friends who know your grandfather, who knows your father, and when they know you, it's exactly the same kind of values that we bring together.
Yeah, I think values is very important. I think from young, even from my meeting my grandfather, all the way to growing up with obviously my father, and now that we're in the business, they have never stopped emphasizing on the values that we need to uphold, which is just like what Michelle said. We have to always be honest, honest to our customer, honest to our employees, honest to our suppliers, and the other thing is integrity. When the way we treat others must be the way that we expect the same from. So if we expect honesty from others, then we have to practice it ourselves at the same time. And I think in terms of product value, quality is the key integrity that we always want to send the message out to our customers, suppliers, end users, and clients as well. So, for example, very recently we innovated a world first patented of its kind product, and the entire idea came out with first trying to solve issues, a concern, for example, then how do we ensure that our client can fully utilize this, rather than, it's not all about profit and selling, but it's to also first not just meet the need, but how can our end users fully utilize this innovation that we have worked on. So actually, when you have this in mind all the time, this also drives the way the business goes, innovation in the company, how you treat your employees, how are we as an ecosystem in our own company and our community as well.
So we've talked about the business. So let's talk about being sisters. What were the both of you like growing up?
Okay. Maybe Michelle can.
Yeah, Michelle.
Talk about me, and I'll say the same.
So Michelle is older by a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's 5 years older than me.
Yeah. Okay. So she's the elder sister or the elder sister? Are there two of you or many other siblings?
There's three of us. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a brother in between me and Melissa.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I guess we fight. Yeah. As siblings, we fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess to me, it's like I'm very blessed to have a sister, especially when she joined the business, because in a family business, there's also a lot about emotional attachment. Yeah. Making a decision between family and business wise. Yeah. And you need to be very sure of your decision because it affects everybody. Yeah. And of course, having the sister in the business does really help me because I have a listening ear. Yeah. And all this has been going on since we are young. Although we are 5 years gap, everyone always asks us, how come 5 years gap you both can be so close? I guess our relationship really builds up when we were in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Because there's only two of us and then we just have to cover each other.
Count on each other.
Yeah. Because I was in Melbourne alone for about 3 years. And of course, having my sister coming for her Trinity study was like, finally, I have someone, And we started exploring together, cleaning the house together, making sure
That must have been fun. That must have been fun.
Yeah. But of course, we have our down times where we will just give ourselves the space that we needed. So I guess, although with the age gap, we are able to understand each other very well. Like, she's like my fashion stylist. She can tell me, okay, encourage me to spend all the time, and tell me, just get it. She's a very encouraging person because I'm more of the quiet person compared to Melissa. Yeah. So she will give me a lot of confidence and always telling me, you can do it. So I guess to me, having her is very very blessed. Yeah. How we grew up, we didn't go to the same high school at the same time. Yeah. So our relationship really blossomed when we were in uni.
Yeah. When we started staying together, right? Yeah. I mean, being my elder sister, she's growing up, she's really just like my mom, right? Because my parents are always
I see Michelle laughing.
Yeah. So she plays so many roles. I mean, throughout the phases of my life. I think when I'm really young, like below 8 maybe, my sister is just like my mom. Right? She takes care of me. She makes milk for me every night. This is a running joke in our family that she's always taking up my mom's role because my parents were very busy building our business. Our business was it really when we started doing export, my parents had to fly a lot. So we were always at home with our nanny or like our aunties and uncles. So my sister was like this mother role who make sure that I completed my homework, got my tuition done, I'm well fed
with milk,
and with the milk baby at home. But then when we grew up, then we became more like confidants of each other. Yeah, I think our age gap, I mean, literally in terms of how we felt for each other was really narrowing until today. I just felt like my sister is literally just like my age. We don't have an age gap that.
So I'm actually younger.
Yeah. Everyone says that she looks younger. Yeah. But
both of you look pretty much like the same age. If we never said that there was a 5-year gap, I probably wouldn't know. I mean, I know your sisters, definitely there's
yeah, I would be mad sometimes because she always dresses very young. Yeah, but there's one thing that I really wanted to share was this was a very memorable memory of working together and how blessed I was to have a sister at work. I mean, it's so hard to separate just saying how we feel as sisters, but because we work so closely with each other, and at home we are sisters, So 2 years back, we had quite a huge incident that happened in our factory. And it was something that we really couldn't share with our team because we did not want to get them too worried. So it was really burden on our shoulders, just us and of course the family. And it was this incident went on for almost a month and a half. And every day we were really stressed out. We couldn't sleep. But I just sometimes I would actually tell my sister there was just moments of silence that we share in the car, and we talk about what's happening today and how things has transpired from yesterday. Because every day it was changing. This incident that was impacting us, and then I just felt that I'm so blessed to have my sister because if it wouldn't be for her, I would have felt really very challenged. I would, alone, yeah. Probably not up to this extent that I would want to give up, but it would have been a lot more difficult to get over or to problem solve to where we are today. And you just can feel that support is not just because she's your teammate, but because she's also your sister. So she could also really feel how you feel and, just feel like, without telling you, you can feel that we're doing this together. We're overcoming this challenge together. Yeah. And I believe there will be many of these incidents as long as we're in this business. I expect myself to be in this business for at least another 40 years. And I'm sure this is just one of the very first ones that have impacted us so, emotionally and physically, so taxing. But then after coming out from it for 2 years now, I just felt like, thank God I have my sister. Thank God I have a teammate at work. And just thank God that we are actually a family business. Because if today this business was just my own business, I may not have been able to share with anyone, and it would have been a lot more difficult to overcome this.
Wow. That's great. That really is a very insightful sharing. But based on what you just said just now, right, about having that incident, what have the both of you learned from the incident besides the fact that you're really thankful that you're in this together, the business, and trying to overcome problems together as siblings, as well as, people who are tasked to run the business for the next generation and beyond? What have you learned about yourself throughout this, whether it's this incident or not? I'm sure this is just not one of the incidents. I'm sure running a business, you have many incidents, right? So what have you learned about yourself over the course of, like you said, you've been in the business for 10 years in this particular business, right? About yourself.
What do you think, Michelle?
It's really the willingness to learn and the willingness to actually go down. Yeah. Getting our hands dirty.
Go down to the production floor?
Yes, really. Because it is only by getting your hands dirty that you know what needs to be improvised. Because you experience it yourself. And as a person leading the organization, you always want to have a higher production capacity. And you always wonder, why is this not coming out? How come, what's going on? But by observing is not enough. By doing it yourself, you will know that, okay, I think I can improvise this. Okay, only a small change or a slight change will make a huge difference. So through that incident, we also made few improvement plans on our production floor. Likewise, I would say the resilience that you have.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I think my key takeaway is also resilience. You just have to trust yourself that yes, you've been thrown a huge challenge, but you have to trust yourself that you're in this position because you're capable, not because you're given, and you have the capacity and capability to lead everyone out of this dark this dark cloud that is like covering us. Resilience is very important, I think. Even as now with the COVID in the last 2 years, I think I've also sort of really stand by on resilience. it was not just so much on, production or what. It was really like motivating our guys at home, that, yeah, I know you guys are facing COVID. We are as well. Business is impacted, but we are still here. Everyone will have to work together, then we can ride out of this storm. Yeah. Sort of have that in you, the determination, I always believe my team can always feel it, and they also will feel very demotivated from the situation. The most obvious one will be COVID. And that has impacted everyone emotionally and physically as well.
I guess putting fear away, face the fear rather than putting it away, right? A lot of times we make a lot of decisions because we are fear. Oh, this may happen, that may happen. But when you make an intention to face it, then solutions will come by.
Yeah.
So everything we do, we have to have the right intention. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why we also tell our staff, or our employees, how to, don't make a decision out of your fear. Especially, I think in this COVID, fear, the instilled fear is so high. What if COVID happens to my family, etc. But by giving them the assurance is not enough. But we have to let them know you have to face it, right? With the braveness of your heart, and not lock it inside a locker room and then subsequently this thing will just explode again. So I would say that our team did very well during this COVID. Yeah, we all really
definitely.
worked together. That's our biggest takeaway for the past 2 years. Our team are definitely more united. We share the same vision, share the same goal. They also have the assurance that we are here. Yeah, the business is here to sustain. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And like Melissa say, right? She's going to be here for 40 years.
I think my father would be very glad to hear that. Yeah. But talking about what Michelle was just saying, I just wanted to add was that decision making, I think we have, after working with each other for so many years, I mean, for myself, it's already been 7 to 8 years, I think, fully immersed in the business. We have come to a consensus that, decision making is not about whether your decision, sorry, your idea or my idea is being picked. Oh yes, my idea got it. No, we're way past that, and it's very immature of us to think of that way. But our consensus has actually come to a point where we need to challenge each other so that we can cover all areas of concerns and ultimately make the decision. And decision is always a sacrifice of other things. But what is our priority now? And that's also the reason why we can always, I mean, even though we have very extreme views of certain things, but we always converge into the final decision of executing certain actions and so, because we are comforted and we are assured that we have challenged each other on all areas of concerns, and this really is the best decision. I think this is very rare in a family business, because a lot of time family business is about what the top guy says, right? If the top guy says one, everyone who has 2 or 3 in their minds are just going to not going to say much.
Especially if we're junior, right? If we are younger.
Right. But I think my parents has given us lots of freedom, and also they are willing to trust us in how we make our decisions. And that also encourages me and Michelle to, come to that point where we converge and say, yes, this is what we're going to do. So it's going to be very hurtful for the company itself if there's always someone who's always going this side and another one who wants to go on this side, and we hardly could meet in the middle. I think that's very important. In Chinese, we call it 默契, that you have to ultimately come to that point and then accept that, okay, we've looked all of it and this is the best decision, or this is the best way we should go for it.
Would you call that your secret sauce for the success of the way the company is run today?
I think now that you put it, I would, because I think that cuts off a lot of conflicts, a lot of unnecessary, family business, sometimes it can be very hurtful if you take it very personally and you don't sort of separate it that we're sisters at home, but we're also colleagues, we're also a team, but we are also opposites of each other at work. Because I'm always sales and marketing, I'm always asking for bigger budgets, bigger of everything. And she's always in the operations and she's always like,
Cut costs.
That is true. That is true, right? So you're both on opposite sides, even though you're towards the same objective, right?
But I guess that's a good advantage about having a family on the opposite side as well, so that you actually can get decision make easily, also faster. Yeah. So we really believe in our organization streamlining the decision making process. Yeah. Because I really don't see why we should go through such a long time to go for a decision. Yeah. And at the same time, this also makes things very difficult for our peers, our staffs. Yeah. So
healthy debate, I think. Most of the time we have very healthy debate. I mean, it can be really like, do you mean my idea is not really good? But I've gone past that after working with my sister for like 2 over years. I sometimes I just feel like it's not about whose idea. It's about what is our vision, what is our objective at the end of the day. And of course, being in the business, I've got a lot more mature in terms of how I analyze, how I come to acceptance of certain things. It's about the bigger picture, not about yourself. I'm still learning every day, and I think that is also why, thankfully, my sister has stepped on that path first before I did. She has tested every water before I went.
She has opened certain doors before you could step through them.
Yeah. But having a sister at work, which means even after work never ends, right? Being the family business.
And do you talk business even during dinner and
all the time?
All days.
During work day, we do not have enough time to talk to each other.
Yeah. It's like a debrief at the end of the day.
So every morning, that 20 minutes or 30 minutes to work is very, very good catch up.
Yeah.
I think that is something that I think me and Melissa are very, very blessed, because we have so much time together. We don't have to make an appointment to meet each other.
Yeah.
So literally, if we need to get something out of our head, we can just say, hey, can we talk?
And you never have to say, I haven't seen my sister in ages. You can't say that.
Hardly.
I think it would be very weird if she just go on a holiday for 2 weeks. It's like, I'm going to work alone.
Oh yeah, so that brings up the biggest disadvantage is that I can never travel with my sister. We can never travel together unless it's a really short business trip, which I really enjoy. I remember we went to New Zealand together for a really short trip, and it was nothing exciting, but because it was just one of those rare trips that we can go together.
I think more like a retreat.
Yeah.
Business retreat.
Because we can never travel together, right? I have to be in the office if she's away, and she's got to be in the office.
So probably only Chinese New Year. And that's also reserved for family trip.
Yeah, got to do more girls.
I heard about your family trips. I read about it.
Yeah.
Some interesting getaway that you did, that you do every year.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
My father's very family oriented. I mean, that's also why I think when we joined the family business, it was not a tough transition, because my father has always emphasized about togetherness. Yeah. And so that is also why every Chinese New Year it's the only time my father sort of take his mind off work, which is a blessing to both of us. But it also is a very good time to just sort of enjoy time with our parents, not work related, but just eating something that we like, going on a plane ride and then going to another country to explore, kind of like a family holiday, but also non-work related. It's like a tune-off kind of retreat.
So where do you normally go?
Japan?
Japan is our favorite.
Yeah.
But usually when we go to Japan, there's always some business element involved. we need a good excuse to go there. Yeah, most of the time we go to Japan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Japan is easy. We also we have some business affiliations in Japan, but I think Japan is literally like like you can go there for leisure, you can go there for good food, you can go there for nice scenery, it's not too far away. Yeah. Kinda I think most of our Chinese New Year are either in Japan, some island.
Okay, so now I want to switch up and ask you this question. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made?
But individually?
Yeah, individually.
Oh. What about you? Maybe I go first. She's always thinking, that's the thing, being an elder sister.
She's a deep thinker. She's a thinker.
Yeah. Best investments. I think in the last 2 years, I've the way I approach work has really changed a lot. COVID has really changed the way I work. Even the way I was thinking of how to motivate, because I'm always constantly trying to think of better ways to motivate our team. It's always a changing landscape, not just for COVID. Even year by year, you can tell, last year we were doing it this way. This year, we are doing it this way. One of the best investments I think for myself was really downtime. The kind of downtime that I've never gotten when there was no COVID. And in this downtime, I did a lot of reflection. And those reflection, I've done it with my husband, constantly talking to him at night, telling him, how I will do certain things. But, I didn't have this time to do all this reflection. And I've underestimated how much personal reflection actually impacts the way you live your life, the way you want to approach work, the way you present yourself to people. It has actually made me got a lot more compassionate, self-aware, and also motivated me. I found a different source of motivation apart from work, but more on, hey, I want to self-improve, But if I didn't have this downtime, because at work it's very easy to sort of just feel like you're very busy every day and all you want to do is 8:30, shut off, read a book, watch something funny, and then next day is another day again. But during the lockdowns, I had this opportunity to do this, and I think time was the biggest investment I had that given me reflection. And now that I'm back without the lockdowns and back at work, I feel really motivated. I found a new sense of belonging to the business, and I've actually found a new purpose in wanting to drive the way I work and ultimately to have a really good working environment. Yeah. Time was my biggest investment.
And Michelle.
For me, it's really the time that I have invested in myself as well. I'm actually quite close to Melissa, but mine was the 20 minutes that I give myself every day to meditate. Yeah, I think that makes a very huge difference. I've always been wanting to do this, but I didn't have the chance to until last year, sometime in March. Yeah, I managed to meet someone that teaches me how to meditate, why we should meditate. And having that also means setting the right intention every day before I start. So I used to just want to sleep in, and say, okay, I'm very tired. But I realized that waking up the 20 minutes earlier every day, and it really helps me when I come to work in terms of my productivity. So as you know, I have two children, yeah. So it's always a constant struggle, or am I being a good mother enough? The guilt mom comes in when you stay back a little bit more. And your children calls you, hey, mom, what time are you coming back? Are you coming back? And, with all this, you're constantly just trying yourself. Are you good enough? What should I do better? So you're constantly in that battle of being your children's mother and also a family member and also being part of an employee of the company. So last year, of course, after learning that, going through that course that I went, which I really like, it opened up the avenue that, life is not about just fulfilling each condition that you have preset for yourself or you preset for your children. Always set the right intention whenever you want to do something. So today, before I come to work, the 20 minutes I give myself will really make a difference of the way I will plan my whole day, whether it's with my children, whether it's with work, or whether it's with my client. Yeah. So we always complain we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time. We want to have the best of everything. But we never thought how we can work out a time with just that 20 or 30 minutes, for yourself, that moment of silence, connecting to yourself. Because most of the time when you do something, you always think, okay, I'm doing this because I want to achieve this. Okay. Is it out of your ego or is it just for yourself? Do you really want to do it entirely just for the purpose that you have set for? Yeah. Or is it other people driving you to come to this decision? So with that, I have a new perspective of what a mother should be, what a mother is like. There's no guilt. I come to work happily every day. I don't feel guilty when my son tells me, Mommy, can you come back? I haven't seen you for so long. But there are just certain things in certain time that you need to do for the better in future, right? Or at this juncture of time. Yeah. So it's really a constant struggle for me. Like when I first became a mom, work is so taxing, like sometimes you feel like, okay, have I spent enough time for him? Are we going to lose this time? But I walk out of that and I can say that as a person, I feel happier, definitely. And it's more purposeful of whatever that I'm doing.
So it sounds like we invested in our well-being, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our, mental well-being.
Invested in your own health and wellness.
I think that's important. Yeah. And then, of course, last year, I'm very lucky. I have a sister who works out with me every day. Tells me
what workouts do you do?
Oh, she's always into working out, and I'm always like, oh gosh, I'm always like, it's so rare for me to sleep in because work starts really early and we work almost when we're at home as well. So every time I get like a Saturday off, I just want to sleep in, and then my sister's like, come, let's go, let's do some mat exercise, let's go for a walk, let's go for this, and I'm like but then MCO, we're stuck at home together. Then I sort of picked that up.
That's why I feel that having that time of your own, whether it's workout, whether it's meditating, whether it's going out for a job, that half an hour or that 1 hour belongs to you. Yeah. And that is the time when you hear yourself, your inner self. What do you really want? How do you really want it to be? Rather than, because when you have so many things on your table, sometimes you just lost focus, right?
Literally and figuratively, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I think this is very, very important. That's why I always encourage the people around me, have some time with yourself. And that's the only way, that's one of the way that key to happiness, really.
Can you tell that between the both of us, my sister is like the more philosophical one. She's always like this big picture. I don't have any of that. I'm always chasing for tomorrow. What am I going to do? Next 3 months, where am I heading to? I'm always in that momentum. And then you have your sister who tells you, hey, can you wake up?
I think we neutralize each other to our extremes. Yeah. We really neutralize ourselves.
I think both of you are great balancers for each other. Like
So when you remind
Michelle is like that. Yeah. Melissa is like this. Michelle's like this. But together, you complement each other. Even from this, yeah.
Because, sometimes when you probably, for example, you slack a bit, someone tells you, hey, you're slacking. Can you please
She
pick
keeps
up?
me on my toes. Always telling me, no overspend, no over this, no over that. And I'm like, okay, cost down.
Yeah. So having that is make a difference. I really enjoy having a sister. Not only enjoy having a sister, but also enjoy her as my work partner.
Yeah, but I encourage spending some time for yourself. I thought that was a really huge it did a really huge impact on me. It was something that the lockdown has my biggest takeaway of the lockdown actually. Time for myself.
It's like a pause button or a reset button in some ways.
It's so true, because last time when you have time, you want to travel, you'll be like chasing after itineraries, okay, and then when work starts, you're chasing after, meetings after meetings. So literally, if you do not give yourself some time, you may make the wrong decision. Yeah? In view of the time constraint or in view of the constraint that you're facing. So I always tell Melissa, we got to stay calm. Yeah, we got to stay calm. And
I'm not the calm one.
Yeah, not to say that she's not the calm one, but she's like, okay, I need to get this done now. Okay, I need to get this off my books.
So I'm always on a momentum. I can't sort of. I find it very difficult to just like settle on a very like mundane routine. I'm always chasing for what's to do next, but then sometimes then I forget about myself. I think that's why also Michelle is emphasizing on how her meditations sort of connect her back to who she aspires to be, what her role, what she expects her role as a mom or as a sister, as a daughter, rather than expectations of others piling up on her, telling her what she should do. Yeah, it's good time. I think the lockdown.
Now I'm going to ask you this: if you're a piece of music or a type of music or a genre of music, what would you be, Melissa, and what would you be, Michelle?
I'm sure this is going to be very different. I know what I want to say. I'm going to hear what Michelle's going to say, man.
I'm more on the relaxation music type.
Okay.
Spa kind of music. Yeah.
I think I would be like a dance or a K-pop, maybe.
K-pop?
Yeah, maybe K-pop is up now. Recently I've been like on repeat on like this really fast beat K-pop song. Yeah. See?
This is a very, very good question. Yeah. I think it's a very, very good question.
It got nothing to do with age. I think it's just correct.
It's just a personality, right? Like that's the personality of that person. So you can understand that person through the music as well as now. The next one I ask is the books. What specific books or favorite books that each of you like to read or continue to refer to all the time? I see Melissa laughing.
So many books. Melissa can go first.
I love thriller books. I love thriller books. Anything crime and thriller, I can finish them in a day or two. I'll just be so fixated on like trying to find out what's happening, what's ending and all that. Time to time, I feel, I know this is not right, but time to time, I feel guilty that I'm like too immersed in all these books and not on self-improvement, self-enrichment. And then sometimes I picked up like a couple of books from Book Depository, like 10 things that what leaders should do, those typical kind of books. I mean, they're useful. When I read them, I of course, I feel there's quite some key takeaways, but it's very mundane and you really need to find some mood to read those kind of books. But it doesn't mean that I don't read them. I do. Sometimes on the plane, I do. But if it's for like a quick leisure, I love thriller. She doesn't like thriller for sure.
My most favorite book is actually the Power of Now. Yeah. I read it twice. I'm still reading it again because I just find that every time when I read it, there's actually always new insights and new awakening calls for me. And I learned a lot from the book on how to be happy. Why is it important to be where you are? Realizing, facing your fear, whether it's really you're scared, and a lot of time we just run away. Yeah. So this is like my little book that reminds me of what I should do. Yeah, how I should be, or what can I be, or how far can I go. So I read that twice, and I'm still reading it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I should borrow that book.
Yeah. Have you read The Power of Now?
Her bookshelf is full of books that I wouldn't touch. But when I feel guilty and I feel like I need some self-improvement or a long flight, I would steal some of her books.
I also like reading business biographies. Yeah. The recent book that I read, I think, which is good, is actually Ride of a Lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
How he became the CEO of Walt Disney. And this also tells me that everyone can do it as long as you're willing to try. Never give up. And how he had to put his family behind and then move to where he's supposed to be posted. Yeah. So this most recent book, I thought it was very easy to read. And also tells us behind every successful person, there are also some sour stories that we should know. Because most of the time, all we read was all the glamorous, successful stories. But we did not know there's actually so much happening behind.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I like business biography, because they really share and you don't feel that you're alone, right? Especially we're in business, and sometimes we need to speak to someone that you can relate to.
Yeah, I think the book is very relatable in terms of just the gist of how you
get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love reading business biography.
So basically I don't have to read them, she will summarize it for me.
And she will give you, right, the 5-minute summary.
She's not interested in any of my crime thriller books, so I don't have to summarize it.
I guess I'm not a expressive story reader kind of person. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I have time, I just want.
No, she likes real stuff, all this fiction.
She likes like real life stuff.
Something that I can relate, because when I first joined the family business, actually I feel like, am I the only one feeling this way? Why am I going through so much emotions? Not only dealing with, that time I was still not married, I think, or going to be married. And I see my parents day, night, travel, literally it's like 24/7. The only time you get peace is like during your sleep. And I had a support group. Actually, I met people who are in a similar business. Like they're in a family business setting. And you realize that actually you're not alone. Right? You're not alone only feeling that kind of emotions, or sometimes you may be angry, I guess, like, why your dad do this? Or
that happens all the time.
Why do you do this decision? Why do you think of me? But in the end of the day, everyone goes through the same path, just in a different way. Yeah. But that's why I see the people that the people who are in family business need a lot of support. And these are things that you wouldn't share with anyone because it's family, right? It's family. So that's why I was quite lucky. Me and my sister was part of a support group, and we managed to. That's part of our journey in getting through this emotional part of family business. You not only have to be good in what you're doing, you have to be good in terms of managing as well. Being good at your allocated task is not enough. Right? Because you're expected, sometimes your parents, you should know what I mean, right? Yeah.
That is also why Michelle is an all-rounder. She tends to take into account of a lot of the bigger picture. I'm always very focused on my task. I think that is also why I slowly gravitate towards sales and marketing. I work very closely with my father. Whereas my sister, I mean, first her character, and she's very meticulous, her attitude to work, she's very suited to manage the operations because she's just an all-rounder. She looks into coverage of everything. And that is also why sometimes I think she really needs a listening ear because there are just so many aspects in the business that she needs to look at on a day-to-day basis. I mean, of course, I'm fortunate to say not all I do is the sales and marketing, but the majority of the work that I do is client facing and all that. And sometimes I tend to I enjoy the work that I do, but I hardly come across an incident that makes me not able to tune out. Because when you enjoy your work, you just feel like every day you're just doing something like that. But then managing people is another story. So Michelle is skilled in managing people. That's something that I got to learn from her all the time.
I guess we are constantly learning from each other. Yeah. And I don't say it's weakness, but there are times where we can lift each other up when you need. Because sometimes you do have a down moments, but with these down moments, you just need that, hey, I'm here kind of thing, and you're all fine.
What do you
So
think
that's really the beauty, right? Of being sisters in business.
I mean, especially being a woman in this industry, whether it's the manufacturing, whether in the construction, you get a lot of bias and skepticism. Yeah. When you walk down to site and people just, what are you doing here? Do you really know anything? And that's so common. I get that, especially when I first joined the business. Yeah. Because you're so new. You're an accountant. What are you doing here?
And they say you're the boss's daughter too.
Yeah.
Right?
That was a blow, man.
So
I get that all the time.
So, because from there, we know that we can't live in this kind of shadow. Right?
No, but I think I mean, when someone tells you that, there are two perspectives to it. You can take it personally and feel like, I'm so hurt from it,
But it serves as an encouragement
but then
to us.
there's another perspective where are you presenting yourself
well enough?
Yeah, good enough with your skills, with your knowledge, and your expertise. Because when you do that, people tend to deviate, sort of move away from that impression of you that you're just nothing more than just one of a family business next gen. I think of course it comes with time. Just like I think what Michelle said initially when she joined the business, she gets that a lot, but I don't think she gets that now. Because
we only got mixed up.
Because you demonstrate the knowledge, the expertise, and all that, and then people kind of able to tell that, hey, you know what you're doing. So that's something I think women they are very sensitive sometimes, but they also feel like no, I deserve more. But it's nothing wrong, but it also is sometimes you just need to ignore and look at the positive perspective of what's happening. Because if someone just tells you you're just a woman, what are you doing here? Well, I wouldn't debate you and say, well, what do you mean by I'm a woman and all? But you will know one day that I'm not just a woman. I'm also an equal of you. I am also able to make good decisions. I'm also able to, lead a company that to a good direction, etc. You will know one day. I don't have to
do it just to prove
it to you now. I think that is something that you need to accept that first, because some people they get very triggered and they need to have an instant response and no, I gotta prove it to you now. Women is rude. No, you don't have to. As long as you know your objective, you know what your visions are. Sometimes you just gotta sort of block that out from you and just work towards what you believe in. And then over time, people will be will be convinced that, hey, you're tough, you're good, you're not just a woman, you're an entrepreneur, regardless of whether you're a man. I think it's just simple as that. So don't get too
Overwhelmed.
take it to the heart that someone's like telling you something, telling you off because you're just a woman or you're a boss's daughter.
Wow. That is so Melissa.
Yeah, I think it's just be confident in yourself.
Okay, so we've come to the end of our interview, and I just wanted to hear from the both of you. What is that one piece of advice that you want our listeners to remember as a result of having heard this interview today? Or takeaway?
Always have the right intention when you do something. That's the key. I think the listeners or from me, I really think. I mean, to me, having that right intention in everything you do or setting the right intention is the most important thing that will drive you to where you want to be.
I think women has been, people tend to have an impression that when you're a woman in business, you need to be tough, you need to be aggressive, you need to be not easily bullied. I think that is all nonsense because frankly speaking, I think just like I mentioned earlier, yeah, I need to be tough, but I need to be tough for myself, not because I'm a woman. But also because typically anyone should be tough because there are always challenges thrown at you all the time. So like what Michelle said, set your intentions right, set your objective right, And to women out there, as a woman, I would think that I would never say you need to be tough, you need to be aggressive, but you have to believe in yourself. When you believe in yourself, then you know that this aura that you're always exuding out to other people is positive energy, confidence, determination, perseverance, all this, right? So it's nothing got to do because you're a woman. But of course, something that we always need to acknowledge is that women tend to play many roles. They feel like they have to, as a daughter, I need to, as a mom, I need to, and as a wife, I need to. Yeah, I think that is the beauty of being a woman, that you can multitask and you can also take all this in and process and be the best of yourself. So don't over emphasize of, I'm not being a good enough mom. Just tell her that, I'm not being a good enough wife, I'm not being a good enough daughter, or all these rules that if you are in your best performance, you are really trying your best. Of course, some women are able to do better than that. But having a sister that have 2 kids, sometimes I just say, hey, never mind lah. They're just kids, They will grow out of it. Yeah, don't be overly like pressuring yourself, like, I'm not spending enough time with them. Yeah. My parents didn't honestly, they were like, with my sister, maybe they spent quite some time, but with me, they were already, our business was already
Growing.
Yeah, growing at then, and hardly see my parents, but we still have a very good relationship. I think because of the way we are brought up. It's not because they spend a lot of time with us. So again, I think just to summarize, I think be yourself, believe in yourself, be confident, and don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Thank you. Thank you to the both of you. And final one, where can people find you online? Do they want to connect with you, want to know more about you? Where should you go?
LinkedIn?
Yeah.
LinkedIn. that being said, I need to start working on my because this is really bad advice, but good advice for everyone is that we're in a very connected society now. Should always update your LinkedIn. I'm going to make sure I do that in the next 5 days so that I can get people. But I used to only have a LinkedIn profile because I was looking for jobs. And now that I'm obviously in my own family business, I shall never forget that that's how people are getting connected with me. And thanks, Krista, for bringing that out. I'm going to make it a point.
Same thing for you, Michelle?
Yeah. Yes, it will be the same. Yeah.
But Michelle's the LinkedIn more updated. No, she's sitting there looking like
embark on this.
I thought she was going to say, mine is more updated than yours, Melissa.
No, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. But we're going to make it a point to read it.
So thank you so much, the both of you. Do you know that you're the first pair of sisters that I have on my interview? Usually I only interview one person, one of the co-founders, But in this case, when I spoke to Melissa, I said, hey, why not, put your sister together, and it will just have fun with the interview. And I'm so glad we did that because see the different insights that came out from same question, different insights, different perspectives.
Yay!
Yeah. So it was such a pleasure, and I really, really am really grateful. And also, when you were saying that, Michelle, about sharing and having a support group and even learning from other people, I think that is also my key intention with the podcast. If I can share women's stories, especially Asian women's stories, who are in business out there, I'm sure and I hope that others who are in the same situation, maybe still, in their struggling with trying to find their own place in their family business, may be able to reach out to you. And perhaps you can have a conversation with these people also, with these women, so that they don't feel that they're alone. Because sometimes it is hard. It is hard. Being in business is hard. Being in family business is challenging. And at the same time, sometimes you just need someone to tell you, I understand exactly what you're going through. I don't have to tell you everything, but right? That's the part of business that we all undergo. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you. We'll see you again.
Yeah.
Wasn't that such a delightful interview? I was really smiling to myself listening to the two sisters talk about their relationship and what they discovered about themselves during this pandemic. I found them very much down to earth and fun, despite running a large manufacturing business. As always, you will find all the links and more interesting information about all our guests on our website, womenpreneurasia.com. Please subscribe if you haven't done so yet, or better still, leave me a rating on Spotify or wherever you are listening to this podcast. In next week's episode, I'll be speaking to Debbie Chua, one of the founders of Project 57 in Malaysia. Project 57 is a social enterprise founded on the vision of the first Malaysian Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman, who believes that our future depends on how well many different kinds of people can live and work together. Debbie and her husband, Colin, started Project 57 with Colin's longtime friend, Syed Sadiq Alba, with the hope of bringing unity through youth engagement while giving back to the community. By working with corporations and youth, Project 57 has channeled more than 400,000 ringgit to help the underprivileged in Malaysia. They undertake workshops and projects that foster the spirit of unity in Malaysian youth. Join me to hear Debbie's fascinating and inspiring story of a lawyer turned social enterprise co-founder next week.